Morning, folks. It's the 29th of July 2025. We're heading eastbound 94 and head up here to Portage Road. Take a ride south to the Upjohn Company, Part 2, Building 41, the Taj Mahal, Building 88. And we'll probably take a look at one or two others. See you down there. Well, folks, this is the old Upjohn, then Upjohn and Pharmacia, and now Pfizer property. Over here on the right is where the Taj Mahal, Building 88, was located. Now raised, we'll talk about that. Over here on the left is the vaccine plant. Brand new. We'll talk about that. First, we're going to pull in right to the front gate, front door of Building 41. Be right back. Folks, this is now the Pfizer plant. Used to be Building 41, the Upjohn Company. Very front door right here. We're gonna park over here a second. We're gonna talk about this place. How this came to be. How right over there across the street, a beautiful stone wall was hand laid. Quite a place. Be right back. Okay, folks, I'm going to speak a little bit about the development of the Upjohn Company and who is responsible for that, going all through the 30s, the 40s, and of course after World War II. It's Mr. Donald Gilmore. Now, he was the third president of the Upjohn Company and instrumental having this facility built. Main production facility right here. Okay, he guided the company as well, as it is written, through the war years and of course post-war. We've heard of the Gilmore Car Museum. You've seen the videos and the Hickory Corners I've made. That was his. He was a personal friend of Walt Disney. Disney has visited Kalamazoo, as well as Hickory Corners, even walking down the Kalamazoo Mall and entering Louis' smoke shop and grabbing a little tobacco out of there. There's famous photos of Disney here in town. Also, Mr. Gilmore needed a new office, moving out of the 301 Henrietta address downtown. And decided to have what's known as the Taj Mahal, Building 88, built across the street there. Talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Well, Building 41, and I am going to insert a bunch of photos from here. You'll notice quite a bit different sterile conditions. Very much pharmaceutical-like, unlike the oaken barrels and the large distilling vats and so forth. And it did clean up after the year. We call it cleanup. Technologies came on. Many Upjohn himself developed back in the day. South of here, of course, is the large manufacturing part of the plant. More buildings. But back in the day, the center part of this building was manufacturing. Over here to the north, those are loading docks along there. I've been on dock 41D dock, I don't know how many times over the years. What an operation. That was all receiving and shipping. Department my grandfather was in charge of back in the day. Okay, over here on this end, raw materials coming in. Not only delivery, but from the manufacturing part of the facility just south of here, the big power plant is, and you'll see in the photographs 2 large water towers. Okay, they're checkerboard colored, okay, red and white, because the airport's right over here. 35 and 17, you're taking off on 17, you almost fly over, well, you do fly over Upjohn property, just to the east of here. That's why they don't want you flying over this building when you take off. Okay, everything goes straight or bears to the east. You take off over this company right here, you may lose your pilot's license. Not a good idea. Okay, there is an underground access right over here. It goes under the building, and then it comes back out over here on this side. And under the building there is quite a system. We're not allowed down there. I've never been down there. Buses go down there. The Upjohn company used to run their own company buses from the downtown Henrietta Street location that we were at by the big concentrate building, okay, all the way out here. And they would pull in and drop off employees by the bus loads on company buses. There's also executive parking down there. There are laboratories down there and storage. It's huge. Okay. Well, this building was built in 1946 to 1951. It originally had 1.5 million square feet of manufacturing space on one floor. No more towers to work up and down. Everything on one floor. When it opened, it employed 1,750 people. It cost $31,626,000 to build it in 1946. Today, that would be $108 billion. And the new vaccine production wing that you see right there, I believe that they're in production or about to be in production. That was multi-billion-dollar alone. Okay. Building 41 didn't need additional manufacturing space. Gilmore and the designers, when they had this plan, they said, we're upsizing. We know that we're going to grow. So instead of 5,000 square feet, we want 25,000 square feet, so to speak. They had the money and they did it. Okay. Well, they didn't need any more manufacturing space for 50 years until the Center for Advanced Sterile Technology opened in 2001. The new plant, we've just talked about that. Of course, that's vaccines. It's also Paxlovid be made in there. Built in 2022. Today, this facility employs approximately 3,300. I'll be right back. Okay, I also have to mention that they are also going to be working in here with something known as MAP, which is Modular Aseptic Injectable Processing. That began in 2024. Those are vaccines. Now, right here on this corner of the building, because everything here is new. Okay, this is all new. This was the end of building 41. Right here, where you see all this new facility built onto the end of the building. Okay, this went straight back to the east. Then there are windows like here running along the side of the building until you reached 41D dock. And we'll take some video over there and I'll show you some pictures that were given to my grandfather back in the day of the different carriers, motor carriers, backed up here to 41D, loading I believe it's Unicap vitamins. Might be some Zymacaps in there too, but it's quite a little series of photos. Also, right here on this end of the building was Upjohn's printing department. That's the department that our company serviced. That's why I was delivering back here. Over the years, millions of dollars worth of printing supplies. We didn't sell paper or ink, so your darkroom chemicals, your plates, your film, bindery materials, machinery, service, okay? Had an enormous darkroom in here, processing equipment to process the film. You have to remember, all of the printing involved in pharmaceuticals. Just think of the PIs, the patient information slips that you see in every box of pills that you get by the hundreds of billions a year. Okay? It's really folded tight. Little tiny folds, they call it pharmaceutical folding. Those are special folding machines that pack that big sheet down into that little tiny tight fold and then pack it into the pill bottle box. Okay? The little PIs. That's just one thing alone that they had to produce in here, let alone all their flyers and advertising worldwide. This is global, okay? Big print shop. Big print shop. Great account. Never had to worry about terms or anything else. Upjohn calls you up with a purchase order. It's fulfilled. It's money in the bank. This was a golden company. And I believe Pfizer still is. All right, let's go take a little look here at where the buses drove in and out. And then take another, we'll say, angle of the dangle here. Look at Dock 41. And then we'll go over here and take a look at the Taj Mahal. I'll be right back. Okay, here's one of the bus entrances right here, going down and under the building. We're gonna go out here and take a really quick little sweep. Look at the manufacturing, processing business, part of the business. There's the two big water towers. Those are for firefighting, okay? Those are for the firefighting system. You can see the new plant there. That's power plant there in the center. And then of course Pipe Alley. And other production facilities down here. It's a very secure facility. This part of the building with all chemicals produced, I know fermentation used to be down here. They made Motrin, other drugs, prostaglandins, and so forth. You name it. Misotracin, Zymacaps, Unicap vitamins. You name it. We're still down here in processing areas. And then in here too, more of the Zoetis. I always pronounce it wrong, but their production facility is down here in the trees. All right, I'll be right back. Okay. Now across the street from the plant here on Portage, the whole block going back in, okay, all the way down and around the corner, these people's properties became polluted from the plant. Of course, the groundwater and so forth. It has a deep well It's drilled, I understand, a couple of miles deep, that they can sink weighted containers with waste down that well, stacking it up at the bottom. That's down in the very east part of the plant here in the rear. You might be able to take a look at where that was at, or the location. But anyways, that's the way things were and the way permits were given and so forth in the days. I don't really have read into that a lot, but all along here, the people that had homes and so forth, there was a little apartment building back here, all had to be raised. Upjohn bought all the property, raised everything. Here is the location of the Taj Mahal, building 88. Okay, just to show you what that looks like there now, we're going to go over here to our right, show you a little something down here. Okay folks, of course this is the new vaccine plant, and the storage area is built onto the back. Okay, more production and so forth. About the only part of D-Dock, building 41, that you can see is right at the end, right here in between the two newer buildings. Okay, now this larger building here on the right court wasn't there, and it went straight across there to your right, looked just like those windows for a minute, and then there were several loading docks for semis to actually back right inside the building, and then the doors could be closed, keeping it a nice safe airlock, as it were, for, you know, pharmaceutical company. You don't want things just hanging out in the wind, and they designed it that way. I can't tell you the number of times I backed into that dock, and I'm about to show you some wonderful old photos of some cool local carriers, including my favorite one, the Upjohn local delivery truck. Very classy. I think you'll see what I mean. All right, we'll be right back. Everything back here to the east is brand new. The end of 41, of course, was right there. This was all parking and open space till you got to their back door, their security door, their firefighting department's back here, and their deep well is back here. I'll see how close I can get. I'll be right back. Okay, here's their fire department. Okay, straight back here you can see the rail tank cars. Okay, they do have a rail spur that leads in here, and at one time they still might employed 3 locomotive engineers. That when the trains would be delivered in here and disconnected, they could hook onto them and move them around inside the yard back here. And as you can see right now, there are several tank cars in the yard. Be right back. Okay, you can see the windsock. There are several of these throughout the complex. Let you know which way the wind is blowing. If they had some kind of a leak, they know to have the opposite direction and where they're heading. This is as close as I can get to the deep well. The deep well is located right straight back behind that brown building to your right. That'd be the deep well. All right, and these are the eastern entrances to the new production buildings, 259, and it looks like 390 or 332. The new production facilities. I'll be right back. Now, I have a nice little ride along the vaccine production plant. Road that we're on right now used to go straight ahead. They reconfigured this and put this curve in here, kind of curving it around what used to be the parking area and so forth, before they built there's a little bit of the connection. But you can see the light here, how we are gonna curve around to it. Like I said, this used to be a straight shot. But when you have the duckies, you can make things move. I'm going to turn into 88. Okay, folks, everything right here on our right is building 88, the beautiful Taj Mahal, the world headquarters of Upjohn. You'll see the beautiful stone wall going along the front right here. This is now secure. This has been built up after the building was raised. It was used as a staging area and parking area for the employees that were building the huge vaccine plant right here across the street. Okay. Right back. Of course, the grounds all around here like a beautiful garden. They built this up and filled it in, made this pad, which this cost millions of dollars to do in itself. Okay, and then they built a bridge over the road right here, which has now been raised, so that the workers and so forth could, and it was a heck of a bridge. It was millions. And it was here for 3 or 4 years so that they could work on the new vaccine plant. Right along here, the beautiful hand-laid stone wall by Mr. William Sanderlin. Bill Sanderlin, Schoolcraft, Michigan. He passed away years ago down in near Tucson, Arizona, with his wife there, his children. We knew them all. Wonderful, wonderful family. And to think every one of these stones touched by the hand of Bill, and I understand his oldest son, Bill Jr. Yep. Sad to say. But he did not live to see this raised. But it's sad to say. Beautiful work. This whole building, unbelievable. All right. Go over here and take a look at the quads a second. They're right back over here. Right back. Okay, let's talk about the Taj Mahal. Let's talk about Building 88 for a minute. Insert these photos. It was built between 1959 and 1961. It was the headquarters of the Upjohn Company globally, because by this time, Upjohn was in England. They were all over, okay? It was the headquarters from 1961 to 1995, when Pharmacia, who had purchased Upjohn's, Pharmacia and Upjohn, then just Pharmacia, they dropped the Upjohn name. They moved their headquarters to London, England. Sadly, as I mentioned before, the beautiful Taj Mahal, Building 88, was razed to the ground in 2007, and it remained a green field up until the improvements for the parking area and so forth for the builders and the contractors, and the bridge over the Portage Road and so forth was constructed for the new vaccine plant. Of course, I also included those pictures of Donald Gilmore and Mr. Disney, as well as the large meeting room with the board of directors of the Upjohn Company meeting around the table there. If a fly could have been on the wall in there, there's some names sitting around that table. It's really something for back in the day, even by today's standards. The new offices, wide open as compared to the cramped spaces and the old factory atmosphere of the 20s and 30s downtown, moving the office staff into really updated digs, man. Even by today's standards, Building 88 was something else. It had water features underneath, a reflecting pond. You drive around behind the building, down, and then underneath a covered greeting area entrance with the water features all around there. Just absolutely gorgeous. Now, there were many captains of industry that visited Kalamazoo, deal with the chemicals that were being purchased by Upjohn to process, and also people that were the end users, distributors and so forth of the products. Their sales staff was second to none. If you could be on the Upjohn sales staff, field sales staff, you were a top professional. Dr. Upjohn and Don Gilmore, the other they did not put up with lackluster performance or looks. You had to be clean shaven and shorn, suit and tie, shine shoes. You're representing at the time the most powerful drug manufacturer on the face of the earth. And so it's the way it went. Later, of course, Pharmacia purchased by Pfizer, and Pfizer moving a few things out of town and also moving a few things into town. One of the things that they no longer needed was part of what's right behind me. I'm standing in its parking lot. We'll take a look at the quads, talk about them. I'll be right back. Well, folks, this is Upjohn facility known as the quads. Now, the quads, these are 4 100,000 square foot office blocks connected in the center by a central core. Okay, it looks like a big 4-leaf clover. 400,000 square feet office blocks. I remember when you drive down through here and the quads were packed. Okay, they're for sale, they're vacant. Let's look at the other end. 50,000 to 400,000 square feet available. These were built in 1973. I don't have a cost, but I do have a cost on another building that they also vacated over here, just across the street from the Taj. Here's one of their loading docks here, and another lobe, if you will, of 100,000 square feet. All right, be right back. Well, I just looked this up, and the quads are now owned by a Chicago area development firm. That's who's trying to sell them. Now we're looking east on Romance Parkway towards the corner of Portage, where the Building 41, Building 88, the Taj Mahal, and the next building we're going to take a look at, our final building here today. I'll be right back. Well, after the Taj Mahal, right over here on our right, was razed to the ground, they needed another office building out here. And so they decided to build the one that you see right over here on the left corner. Okay? When Pharmacia left Kalamazoo, okay, this building right here stayed in operation for just a couple of years, and then it too closed down. Take a look at this in just a sec. All of this property out here along Portage Road was part of the 2,000 acres that Upjohn purchased to build his the new beautiful 41 building we looked at. Since then, they have sold parts and parcels. The Kalamazoo Air Museum, the Air Zoo, Federal Express right here, the Stryker warehouse on the other side of it, the Stryker Corporation headquarters across the street over here. All of these properties were all Upjohn, okay? Including this one. Now this property right here is very interesting. I went in here and took the famous Upjohn test for employment. You must take that test and pass it in order to have a shot at working here. That was when they were Pharmacia in Upjohn. And came in here, you have to be in what we call a Class A uniform in the Army. Coat and tie. No pantsuits for the ladies. Yep. Dresses and so forth. And you also get to eat in their cafeteria in here, which was just fantastic. Okay? And take the test. I passed it. I was hired over in ProMail as a temporary for a couple of years, working in the mailing department here, right back. The only downside, if you will, to the job was this isn't where you worked. You worked at in a building at the north end of the airport, right by 3-5. If you were taking off on 3-5, you would go almost over the top of that facility. Now, it is all Zoetis, or Zoetis, and so forth. There is an organization that is leasing part of this building at this time, but, man, this parking lot used to be booming too. All right, little part of the filming here today of Upjohn 41. Out here, the production facility and so forth. Let's move on over here to the end of the airport where I used to work. Be right back. Okay, we shall keep in mind everything that we see south of here, and where I am now and south, is Pfizer. Everything north used to be Pfizer, but they've sold over the years. Pharmacia did. Piece of commercial property right here on this corner. And that whole little neighborhood back here as well. This is all up for a sale. Be right back. Ibbott Electric Company has been in this little building since 1969, when it was nothing out here but the homes down that little side street, and of course the property right next door with a beautiful Taj Mahal sitting right there. Yep. Still in business. Pretty cool. Okay, we're passing the FedEx warehouse, and of course the Stryker warehouse over here on the right. Right here on the left is the world headquarters for Stryker. Okay. Very large manufacturing facilities, plurally, here in Kalamazoo. Dr. Homer Stryker. All this land used to be Upjohn's. Here's the Air Zoo. Again, related to the Upjohn Company through marriage and the Gilmores. We'll be right back. Back in the day, the Upjohn Company had its own hangar here on the airport. And I know a person personally who used to have to take the Upjohn jet out to Peapack, New Jersey on Monday mornings and come back on Friday afternoons, week after week. Right here was its world-class facility. It is still super, super cool, and I do not know who is using this facility now. Beautiful helicopter in there, jets. That was the Upjohn hangar. That little citation they're moving out right here. The Upjohn jets. I do remember seeing a beautiful Gulf Stream glistening outside the hangar door one day. They were preparing for flight. Also seen a G1 turboprop there loading materials for a flight. The company had a heck of a security department, still does. That plant back there, they worked with some heavy-duty chemicals and drugs, including pharmaceutical grade stimulants, we'll call them. And they had the base products coming in covertly, very well guarded, certain number of times a month, and would have to be immediately brought into processing and into their drug vaults. Their drug vaults inside building 41, and I don't know about downtown, but out in 41 was two-man rule, security outside signing in, and you cannot enter the vaults alone, two-man rule. Right back. I had a good friend that worked at Bulk Steroids down there south of the 41 main plant. Worked there for years. He couldn't say exactly what he did, other than that he called it baking cookies. He said that he would start the process on a Monday morning and the cookies were all baked on a Thursday afternoon. Fridays were cleanup and preparation for Monday morning again. That's all he could say. But I know that he had two-man rule. Yeah, be right back. Okay, folks. Lastly, this is the building that I worked in a couple of years. Now Zoetis. This was pro mail. It was receiving mail, everything. UPS for the whole company came into this building in the now this is global manufacturing and supply for Zoetis. Back here is their manufacturing plant, and it is world-class, billion-dollar facility. Before they built this, Pfizer took over. That was the Rogaine facility back there. They made Rogaine. But what we did in our department is that the manufacturing buildings down in Plant 41 and so forth, they had to keep production up. They couldn't stop. And so if there were some damaged goods coming off or mispackaged goods, it was kicked to the side. And then it was brought over to our department down here, where we had new packaging materials and so forth, and we would repackage and relabel all those good materials, and then they would be put back in inventory. That's what we did. And there were 40 of us that worked in that department. And after a couple of years, they'd been in business doing that for many years, but Pfizer decided to move it to another country to have that done, and they closed our department down, let a lot of people go. Yep, I'll be right back. I have to mention to you as well, as back in those days, I was making $8.90 an hour. I had passed the Upjohn test, and I had taken Delisle training for Scott Air Pack and passed that. You had to in order to work in that facility, because you were so deep into that big building in the center of it where we were repackaging. If there was a fire, how do you get out? And so we had these movable trees that were on rollers. We'd bring from table to table where we were working, and hanging on those were our Scott Air Packs. And so if there was an issue, we would quick put on our apparatus and get the heck out of there. All right. Yeah, less than $9 an hour. All right. I'll be right back from Mountain Home Cemetery. Thank you for hanging in there with me today. We'll be right back. It'll be great to see you in part 3, Mountain Home Cemetery. See you there. We'll end this 3-part Upjohn video.